Thank you very much, Jonathan, and thank you to you for choosing to join us today at what I know is an extremely busy time for all of us. And I'm delighted to see so many of our key tax and customs stakeholders in the room. Our aim for this conference is to provide a space where we can all discuss, debate and reflect on the key issues that face UK tax and customs administration, and come together with a common purpose of finding out how we can make things better. It's also a chance for us to talk about the different things that HMRC is doing, the achievements of which we are proud, but also the challenges that we face and which we need your continued support and cooperation to help us to overcome. We see our role in HMRC as being stewards of the UK tax and customs system. So that's a system that needs to enable the government to meet its policy objectives, which enables taxpayers, their agents and other intermediaries to self-serve, to meet their obligations and receive their entitlement, and which prevents them from getting things wrong. And it needs to be a system which enables HMRC to intervene effectively when people need support or when we need to correct non-compliance. And we'll only achieve our vision of being a trusted modern tax and customs administration with your help and support, particularly in some key areas. We want to meet more of our customers' needs through quick and straightforward online services, not just transactional services that enable customers to file their returns and pay their tax, but also support services, the information, the guidance and the answers to queries that customers need to help them understand what they need to do. And we want to design compliance into tax policies and into the system from the outset, reducing the opportunities for error and fraud. In this way, HMRC can focus its customer service advisors and its compliance officers on supporting customers who really need to speak to us or whose compliance really needs to be corrected. So we will continue digitalizing the services that enable agents to sign up and act for their clients, and we'll continue working with agents and other intermediaries in the tax and customs system to raise standards so that they add value and benefit our customers. And we need to do all of this in collaboration with you. HMRC made significant progress during 2023 in delivering more with less, while facing challenges that reinforced the importance of continuing to modernize how we deliver our services. Now more than ever, HMRC has a duty to make best use of the taxpayers' money that is allocated to us to run the system. And we do that by delivering efficiently against our core purpose, which is to collect the money that pays for the UK's public services and to give financial support to people. And here, I think we have made real strides. During 2022-23, we collected a record £788.8 billion in tax receipts, and that's an increase of 10.2% on the year before. We've sustained the long-term reduction in the UK's tax gap, meaning that we now bring in more than 95% of all the tax that is due, and it costs us just about half a penny to collect every pound of tax revenue. At the same time, we're building a world-class customs system, one that uses technology, data and simplification to support the smooth flow of trade, helping to deliver economic growth. And modernisation is integral to this, and last year we reached an important milestone in our move to a single customs platform, with all import declarations now submitted on the new Customs Declaration Service. And to date, more than 90 million declarations have been made using CDS, and we're now helping the UK's exporters to move to the system. In January, software developers and employers successfully implemented the in-year changes to national insurance contributions that were announced by the Chancellor as part of his autumn statement. And the indications are that most software developers did make all the relevant changes in time, supported by the rapid release of the required technical specifications by HMRC within days of the autumn statement announcement. But I don't underestimate all the hard work that goes into achieving that, so thank you for those of you who were involved in that. We've seen a number of high-profile compliance interventions hit the headlines in recent months as well. So you will have seen the successful resolution of the cases against Bernie Ecclestone and against Entain, as well as our increasing naming of promoters of tax avoidance schemes and the schemes that they peddle. But there's so much more that goes on that doesn't reach the headlines. Our well-established compliance strategy, which we call Prevent, Promote, Respond, helped us to protect more revenue in 2022-23 than in either of the previous 2 years, preventing the loss of £34 billion of tax revenue to the Exchequer through error, fraud and other forms of non-compliance. And I'm confident that we're going to exceed that figure in 2023-24. It is HMRC's responsibility to ensure that everyone plays by the same rules, and that helps to build public trust in the tax system. But how we exercise our powers is just as important to building trust. It's vital that there is appropriate oversight and safeguards that mean that people can dispute our decisions if they disagree with us, and that they can get redress if we have not abided by our charter and our compliance professional standards. We recognise that facing an HMRC inquiry and potentially a large tax bill at the end of it can be very stressful, and we recognise that behind every case there is a human being. And we sympathise with those who may have been misled by unscrupulous advisors and are facing the financial consequences of that. Contrived avoidance schemes cause untold misery to those who are tempted into using them, as well as a large cost to the public purse in tackling them and putting users' tax affairs in order. And our counter-avoidance strategy is to stop promoters from peddling their avoidance schemes, which almost never deliver the tax savings that they promise. It's also to reach potential users of avoidance schemes, to warn them of the risks of getting involved in tax avoidance, and to alert them to the identities of promoters and their schemes so that they can steer clear of them. And it's also to give practical advice to people who are in a tax avoidance scheme so they can get out of it as quickly as possible and put their tax affairs in order. Where there is a tax bill, we will always help people to pay what they owe in a way which minimises the financial distress to them and recognises and takes account of their individual circumstances. And that includes offering affordable payment plans that can stretch over any period agreed with the taxpayer. In the case of disguised remuneration tax avoidance, we will aim to recover the tax from employers wherever that is possible. And about 80% of the £4 billion or so that we have recovered since 2016 has been from employers. But there are limits to what we can do. For example, we cannot collect the taxpayer's tax from the person who gave them bad advice. And I think that's the subject matter that the FST talked about, where debate is going on. So we're genuine in our desire to have a closer collaboration with you all, and I hope that since following last year's event, you have noticed improvements in how we engage with you, including on Making Tax Digital. Making Tax Digital is a key part of our tax administration strategy. The digitalisation of record keeping will help businesses to stay on top of their tax affairs. It will save them time and reduce the element of the tax gap caused by error. And with small businesses accounting for a greater proportion of the tax gap, 52% at the last count, this is more important than ever. Together, we've already delivered Phase 1 for VAT. Using Making Tax Digital compatible software is now the norm for VAT-registered businesses, with nearly 2 million of them keeping digital records and filing their returns using MTD-compatible software. And we've already processed over 25 million VAT returns under MTD, and 80% of the businesses surveyed said that using MTD software to file their returns was easy, with 69% experiencing at least one benefit from it. And we expect MTD for VAT to bring in more than £3.5 billion in additional tax revenues by 2028-29. The next stage of the programme is Making Tax Digital for income tax self-assessment, which will be implemented in 2 phases from April 2026. Now, we recognise that transition to MTD for self-assessment represents a significant change for customers when reporting self-employment and property income. But we're confident that customers will see benefits in terms of the time and productivity and being able to access better tailored services. It will also play a significant part in further reducing the tax gap, and we currently expect that it will enable us to collect an additional £1.4 billion by 2028-29. As with any change of this scale, it's important that we take the time needed to get it right, and we are committed to working closely with our external partners to provide a good experience for customers and agents using MTD. Over the last year, we've strengthened our collaborative approach to include monthly co-creation sessions with software developers and tax agents to design solutions for the key issues that we needed to address, examples including jointly owned property and multiple agent access. Last November, we announced simplifications to the design of MTD for self-assessment following the review into the needs of small businesses, and in December, we shared our plans in more detail than we have before. And I know that many of you took part in that review, and we're very grateful to you for your feedback, and that enabled us to make decisions that will not only improve user experience, but also mark an important step towards delivery. This month, following a consultation with members of the software developer and agent communities, we laid the final regulations for Making Tax Digital for self-assessment, moving us another step closer to introducing the service in April 2026 as planned. Ahead of that, we are committed to expanding our testing program from this April, 2 years ahead of the formal introduction of MTD. So agents will soon be able to sign up eligible clients who would like to take part in testing this year. Our testing program will enable us to judge how the new service is performing, as well as giving agents and their customers the opportunity to familiarize themselves with the software and the new processes ahead of mandation. So if you'd like to know more about the testing program and how to take part, you can speak to my colleagues at the MTD market stall later today, and I know that Angela has more to say about this in a moment following me. So Making Tax Digital is a major part of our strategy, but it's not the whole strategy. So today I also want to discuss 4 other major challenges that we face and how we propose to overcome them. And the first of those challenges relates to pressures on our customer services. Our charter sits at the heart of what we do, and it sets out the standards of service and behaviours that customers should always be able to expect from us. And it says that we will provide services that are accessible, easy and quick to use, and minimise cost to the taxpayer. And online services have revolutionised how people live their lives, and that's why we're modernising how customers interact with us by moving more of them to self-serve online and enabling our advisors to focus on helping those who have complex needs or are digitally excluded or are particularly vulnerable. But we're also making these changes at a time when the number of customers in the tax system is continuing to grow and when many of them have more complex tax affairs than in the past. So in 2022-23, we had over 38 million phone calls. And by the end of December 2023, in this year, we'd received almost 27 million. So that's in line with the same point the previous year. In the meantime, HMRC has 834 fewer customer service staff to handle these calls. So despite that challenge, and thanks to some of the difficult decisions that we have made this year, we have made considerable progress. We've answered 71.4% of calls during quarter 3 of 23-24, which is an improvement on the previous quarters, although still short of our service standard of 85%. We've also improved the proportion of customer correspondence, so that's like things like post and forms, that we turn around within 15 working days. And that has increased from 45.5% a couple of years ago in 2021-22 to 76.4% in the third quarter of this year, but still below our target of 80%. And that moves me on to our next challenge, which is how we can accelerate the move to online self-service. That's the only way that we can improve the customer experience and meet our service standards for customers who really need to speak to us or write to us with the resources that we have. That's by further improving and expanding our online services via gov.uk and through the HMRC app, and continuing to take action to accelerate the movement of more people to use those to self-serve. Now, we know this is going to be really difficult to achieve, but ministers have given us investment of £136 million to improve our online services, and many of you in the room today, I hope, would agree that this is the right way forward. We know that when customers use our online services, that their satisfaction rates are high. But despite this, last year we continued to receive more than 3 million phone calls on just 3 things that can be easily done online. So that's resetting your online password, getting your pay-as-you-earn tax code, or getting your national insurance number. And it takes about 500 helpline advisors to handle those calls. So we need your help to encourage more people to use our online services for simple tasks like those. And that will free up our advisors to help those who need one-to-one support. And of course, agents contacting us through the agent-dedicated line with queries that require action by an HMRC officer will also benefit if we can redeploy our helpline advisors away from simpler calls. Meeting our service standards is really difficult, but let me be clear, we want to continue to take decisions that accelerate the movement of customers and agents who can self-serve to go online because it's the right thing to do, because it's what our customers expect and demand from a modern tax and customs system, and because it makes the most efficient use of our available resources. And throughout that change, we want to make sure that we remain in line with our charter, and we would expect you to hold us to account for doing that. So some of the decisions we've taken: in May this year, we closed the VAT registration helpline to progress chasing calls and directed customers to our online tools, and that allowed my colleagues to prioritise actually processing VAT registration applications. 85% of the calls that we received on that helpline were from customers wanting an update on their VAT registration application before our 40 working days service standard had expired. So this reprioritisation has helped us to cut the time it takes us to register businesses to around 20 working days now for most customers, with very little knock-on impact onto our main VAT advice helpline. Then from June to September last year, we piloted a new seasonal model for the self-assessment helpline by redirecting queries to our online services, including our digital assistant, with web chat advisors available to handle queries that hadn't been dealt with by the digital assistant. And when the helpline reopened in September, we saw a very brief spike in calls, and then they returned back to expected levels. And web chat continues to be used more highly than before following the trial, which suggests, I think, that some customers and agents like that service. Then during the annual self-assessment peak, from 11th of December until the 31st of January, we reopened the helpline, of course, but we did prioritise the calls that we dealt with on the helpline to calls about tax returns, payments and repayments. And we aim to deflect lower priority calls to our online guidance on gov.uk or the HMRC app, and our digital assistant, again with web chat advisors available to help people. And we will publish evaluations of these measures and the next steps we intend to take in due course. We've already released an interim evaluation of the summer pilot, but I can tell you that all the evidence suggests that directing more people online did not negatively impact on customers' ability to file and pay. We had a record 11.6 million tax returns filed by the 31st of January this year. There was also a clear evidence of a reduction in helpline calls needing to be handled by an advisor, and a very significant increase in use of our online self-service, including the personal tax account, the business tax account, and the HMRC app. So what is, I think, already clear is that our strategy is having an impact. Our online services are improving, more customers are using them, and customer behaviour is undoubtedly changing. But frankly, we all need to work together to quicken the pace of all of that. So it won't surprise you to hear that this forms the basis of one of our workshops today. The third challenge that I wanted to raise was how we can ensure that our services are easy to use. The most effective draw for customers who can self-serve are systems and processes that make paying the right tax in the first place as easy as possible, removing opportunities for error and confusion before returns are filed and payments are made. And that makes the customer experience better, and it avoids lengthy contact and follow-up inquiries from HMRC. And we can point to a number of indicators that demonstrate that we are being successful in this area. So on average, our customer satisfaction rates with our online services are above 80%. The HMRC app is rated at 4.8 out of 5 on the Apple App Store and 4.7 on the Android App Store. And over 1 million customers are using it every month as we add new functionality, like your ability to check your pay-as-you-earn tax code and your annual tax summary, your ability to pay your self-assessment bill, manage your tax credits, and claim child benefit. We're also working with software developers, including some of you in the room, on the redesign of your products to help prevent avoidable errors by taxpayers and to promote better compliance choices by software users. And we've evidence that this work is also succeeding. We recently built a nudge message for customers into a commercial software product to encourage the right classification of taxable grants that had been received by businesses. An evaluation of the results shows that introducing this simple change helped almost 3,500 businesses to correct their tax returns at the point of submission, with over £3 million additional tax paid as a result without the need for HMRC intervention. And then the fourth challenge I wanted to talk about today is how we simplify the tax and customs system. While most of our customers pay elements of their tax automatically, for example, through pay-as-you-earn, that is not the case across the wider system. And the largest element of the tax gap isn't the result of deliberate evasion or the use of tax avoidance schemes. Around 45% of it is down to simple error or a failure to take care by those who self-assess their liability to things like income tax, corporation tax, and VAT. The government has given HMRC and the Treasury a mandate to focus on tax simplification, and we're working to deliver reforms to make it easier for taxpayers to interact with the system and ensure that our new policies and processes are as simple as possible for customers to understand and use and to get right. And at the autumn statement, the government published its main objectives on simplification and set out changes to make it easier for businesses and individuals to interact with the tax system. This included simplifying the capital allowances system for large businesses by making full expensing permanent and also expanding the cash basis, which is a simplified way for over 4 million sole traders and partnerships to calculate their profits and pay their income tax. In January, the government announced further action, a new online service for employees to claim tax relief on all of their expenses in one place, the mandation of reporting and payment of income tax and Class 1A national insurance on benefits in kind via payroll software in April 2026, and new legislation to ensure that parents don't miss out on the state pension by introducing a route for people to apply for national insurance credits for tax years where they have not claimed child benefit. We can only achieve our objectives in this area, again, with the help of your insight and your support. And I'm always grateful when I see constructive commentary on the work that we're doing, but also challenge on the things that we need to do differently or do more. So by all means, do push us to do better in the mutual understanding that we all have fairness and the best interests of all UK taxpayers and traders at heart. And please also be prepared to be part of the solution. So in conclusion, I've been frank about the challenges that we face, and I've been clear that delivery against our core purpose over the coming years will mean making tough choices to make the best use of the resources available to us. And we can only do that by continuing to transform the services we offer and encouraging more people to self-serve wherever they can do so. We know that we can't deliver these improvements without working in partnership with all the stakeholders in this room and in the wider system. It will mean designing and increasingly co-designing with you the online services that can make things simpler and can close the tax gap by reducing the opportunities for error. We can't achieve these things on our own. We need your help and your support. And you, in turn, will need to change the way that you support your clients, particularly through our online services. And soon, Angela MacDonald will speak about the progress we've made on the actions we agreed with you at last year's Stakeholder Conference and what our focus will be for working with you over the next 12 months. And then in the workshops we have planned for you today, they're designed as a way into the discussions in more depth about some of the big things that affect us all. And I'd encourage you to keep those conversations going after today's event as well, as part of the various forums that I know many of you give up your time to attend. So please make full use of this opportunity to have your say. We want this collaboration to continue right through the year. And finally, I'd just like to say before I dash off, thank you all for coming today and for playing your part in building a trusted, modern tax and customs system for the United Kingdom. I look forward to speaking to you, as many of you as I possibly can throughout the day when I come back. Thank you. And now I'll hand over to Angela.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jim. So welcome, everybody, to the conference. And as Jim said, it's absolutely wonderful to have so many of you here. And I can't overstate just how important this event is to us. And my entire executive committee are here, including also the chair of the HMRC board. And I hope that you will have a chance to catch up with those amongst your catch-ups with people that you see today. Every year when we get together, our enthusiasm for our positive engagement and greater collaboration increases, and the relationships that we build only get stronger. But I don't take that for granted and know that these things take continual effort and continual focus. We've got some great workshops lined up for you today. So as Jim said, challenge us constructively and hold us to account. But also, this is a partnership. HMRC is one piece of the tax ecosystem, and we cannot deliver for the UK and in our position globally without actually everybody playing effectively their part. Now, Jim kicked us off with an overview of the challenges that face our system and the reasons why change is so necessary for all of us. But most of these challenges aren't new, but we are moving forward to tackle our activities that we need to do, and we have made some great progress since last year. And today will be all about how we explore where we are now and how we keep moving. Now, the things that our customers expect from us do keep changing. Indeed, 86% of our customers tell us that they really would prefer to deal with their tax affairs online. Now, that's understandable, as it's what we do in all other areas of our life. And not many people, in fact, really do want to spend any time at all talking to HMRC. I wish it wasn't true, but that is the reality of the situation. But of course, we are all at some very different starting points. Some of HMRC's services are fully digital, they're high quality, and they are easy to use. But of course, some are not, and we do need to keep working to progress that. But also, that's the same for our customers too. Some customers, some agents are confident in their use of digital services for themselves and to keep client records, but of course, some are not. Now, the good news is we have got a common goal to ensure that this system works effectively and, importantly, securely, and that taxpayers receive their entitlements and comply with their tax obligations. Now, make no mistake, we can only do this if we work on this common goal together. Now, you have all got your own issues and your own concerns, whether that's about agent services, whether that's small business, whether that's about technology or software development, whether that's tax, whether that's customs, whether that's any other aspect of what we work on. But we do have a shared direction of travel on how we address all of them, both here, but also in tax systems around the world. The circumstances that we face here in the UK, the challenges and the expectations, when I talk to my peers internationally, actually there is massive commonality in what we're all experiencing. We've really got to modernise our tax system to drive up our compliance and help everybody get tax right first time. And that has to change how our customers interact with us, and also for you and the people that many of you represent. So I want to dig a little deeper into some of those issues today and look at where we have got since last year. and where we're headed, and of course, what that means for all of us. So when I stood here last year, I said that to make a difference to our customers, we needed to learn some lessons. We needed to take action, and we need to do some things better. And I said also that we need to empower more customers and agents to resolve simple and straightforward issues without needing that direct interaction with HMRC, because, of course, the status quo is not an option. And that isn't only the funding and the resources points that Jim made, but it also is about the expectations of our customers. Last summer, we trialled that seasonal model about directing our SA customers online. And our real goal there was to test what happens when we really try to force a shift in our customers' behaviour. Now, of course, that change was not universally popular, and there was plenty of criticism coming from a number of quarters. But actually, we did the test. The world didn't end. Actually, we learned some really interesting things. And during that trial, we did, in fact, see a marked increase in our customers using our digital assistant, using web chat. And really importantly, the resources that weren't answering the phones managed to get 350,000 more tax repayments out to those customers. And at the end of the day, as I said, the customers don't want to ring us. They simply want their repayments. They simply want their tax processing. So it was really important for us to trial that, and we will, as Jim mentioned, be publishing the evaluation. And more recently, during the SA peak, we directed our callers towards those online services where there was an online service available for the simple tasks that they needed. And we also did the same for the agent dedicated line, on which, just to remind you, 1/3 of the calls that we get to the agent dedicated line are chasing calls. And whilst we're busy answering the chasing calls, we're not doing the work which is causing the chasing calls. So we really do need to tackle that. Now, we managed to reduce our weekly demand by 50%, which included a 55% reduction in the chasing calls, so still a bit more work to go there. But that did mean that we were really focused on dealing with the complex queries, which is what that line is intended for. We're also really stepped up and trying to improve the quality and capability of the people who support those phone lines, trained to deal with those complicated queries. Again, always more to do. But these are the kinds of measures that we must test in order to improve our services for the long run and ensure that we can help our customers in most cases, and we think that we are making progress. Now, I know we haven't always been able to give all of the notice that we would want to on these changes, and that's never because we are deliberately holding back. We will always try to give you the maximum possible notice that we can on making change. Now, again, thinking about last year, I also said it was vital to do more to involve you and engage you in our transformation work that needed to become our default way of working. And Jim has talked about the vital importance of making tax digital and the tax benefits and the big transformation that is bringing to us for customer compliance. And those amounts of money that we are talking about, it is vital that we do that. That's money for nurses, money for education, money for the infrastructure of this country. And I won't repeat how much effort has taken place, but let's be clear. Making tax digital for income tax and self-assessment is going to happen, and ministers are committed to it. But its success is vital and making sure that it works for our customers, and so, of course, we want to continue to work in partnership with you. Now, we have been working with colleagues in the software industry to ensure that there is a competitive market for software compatible with making tax digital. And I am delighted that Intuit, who make QuickBooks and who have been engaged in our testing program from day one, will be the first software provider participating in the beta testing phase from April. And I've also just heard that we'll very soon be joined by Sage as one of our other key software partners. So this, I hope, will bring big confidence to the market that actually our testing and our opportunity to progress making tax digital is actually moving through. And I know that there will be more developers wanting to join and work with us as we go through this crucial testing phase. We are still 2 years away. We are still 2 years away from launch at this point. Now, at the last conference, we committed to reviewing our engagement forums to make sure they provide the best value in terms of time, cooperation, and outcomes. And we've consulted with many of you to find out what you think about them and also look at how our forums are much better coordinated across HMRC. And I really would like to thank everybody who fed into the review. It was clear that there was definite scope for us to improve what we were doing, and only with your feedback and your patience and cooperation have we managed to do that. So thank you very much. Now, you also asked us to do more to support our customers and reduce the burden on the helplines. So we've been focused on better guidance on gov.uk, we've been strengthening our referral routes, and we're building our routes to improve our advisor guidance and learning products. We've also awarded £5.5 million in new grant funding to 12 voluntary and community sector organisations to also help improve the accessibility to some of our most vulnerable customers. Now, we've also taken on board the message about making our systems more intuitive. And it's now business as usual for us to make sure that when we review our systems and our customers' journeys, we take the opportunity to simplify the guidance, using the feedback of expert panels of stakeholders. And we're testing new features for our online services in this way too. A really great example of this is our online customs duty repayment tool, which is intended to both simplify and speed up the process for customers using our customs declaration service. This process is currently in private beta, and our indicators are all supporting that we will be able to do a wider rollout later this year. Through our commercial software nudge programme, we're also collaborating with software developer partners to co-create content which improves our customer journeys and really importantly prevents all of those preventable errors. In 22-23, the programme extended to 16 live trials, working with 11 developers, 450,000 individuals, employers and businesses across tax regimes. The possibilities of how we can use our software to help you and your customers get things right first time has got an awful lot of possibilities and potential. Now, of course, we really do need to get good quality guidance out there for those who need it, and our guidance on gov.uk is reviewed 750 million times each year. So lots of people are interested in looking at tax, and we've launched 28 new interactive guidance products over the last year. Again, a lot more that we have ambitions to do. Now, we know that good guidance makes a real difference. Our self-assessment guidance helps 94% of our customers do what they needed to do without ringing us. And customers have also used the digital assistant 4.8 million times so far, and 62% of those interactions did not require escalation to a web chat advisor. And again, when we're in an environment of limited resources, every single one of those interactions makes a difference. I think we're having a very strange problem with the microphones. I do apologise. Let me also touch on what we're doing to address incorrect tax codes. Now, that's something that affects 1 in 7 new starters. Now, that is incredibly important because it impacts the money in our customers' pockets. And of course, it creates extra work for agents. We get 2,500 calls a week from people who are put on an incorrect tax code due to wrong or missing information. And we've been making changes to the way our pay-as-you-earn IT systems work to spot when a tax code doesn't look right and then automatically issue a new code if we have enough information to do so without the need for that employee to contact us. We've been working with employers, and where we see repeat mistakes, we've been really working with those employers to try to improve the processes and the guidance, not only for us, but also for that employer environment. Now, through this work, we've already changed the codes of 40,000 people who were going to start their new job with the wrong tax code. And some of those customers, we managed to make sure that they got the right pay on the very first pay packet. Absolutely vital for all of those families. And these changes resulted in a 30% reduction in the number of calls to the helpline for this group. And we're going to roll it out more. And we expect about 1.4 million customers to be on a better tax code, more correct tax code through the year than in the prior times. Now, what I hope you see from those things is it's really, it is partly a piece about efficiency and effectiveness for the tax system, but more importantly, it's really about the experience of those people to make sure that they have the money that they're entitled to have. This is just a snapshot. These are some big changes, making tax digital, some small changes around guidance. But I hope that you can see that we really are doing everything we can to take action. And I've sent an email which will provide you with fully detailed updates on everything that we committed to as part of last year's conference, rather than me stand here and read you the full list. So hopefully you'll be able to see that at your own leisure. Now let's talk about the borders and trade, because actually we are doing big changes here as well. We've been doing lots of work with the customs intermediary sector as we roll out the government's new border target operating model. And last year, we successfully migrated importers from Chief to CDS. We shouldn't underestimate the sheer scale of that delivery on the much-loved but very old 40-year-old Chief system. Our Customs Declaration Service, it wouldn't have been possible to make those changes without an enormous amount of collaboration between ourselves and very important customs agents, both really trying to not only prepare the systems, but also make sure that traders could prepare. Our next task is to extend the Customs Declaration Service to all UK exports. And I really do look forward to our further joint working with the customs intermediary sector to ensure that this rollout is a success and will finally allow us to pull out the plugs of Chief once and for all. And we are supporting traders to move goods between Great Britain and Northern Ireland through the Windsor Framework, and we've delivered the new UK Internal Market Scheme with 7,000 authorised traders ready before it all became operational. Now, once the Windsor Framework is fully delivered in September, traders will have access to the UK Internal Market System, which will free goods that stay in the UK from unnecessary paperwork, checks and duties. And we've also extended the free-to-use trader support service until December. We are very committed to working with you to ensure that these changes roll out successfully, building on the ground and the good collaboration that is already underway in customs more widely. At the spring budget in 23, we also announced new consultations on improvements in border policy and processes, and we've established a modernising authorisations tax and finish group. We have very long names for these things, don't we? Through which we are going to work together with our key stakeholders to co-design the future authorisation packages. Now, I know that many of you will attend today's sessions on voluntary standards for the customs intermediaries, and I'd like to thank you in advance for not only the insight that no doubt you will give us during the rest of the day, but also for your collaboration so far. So let's turn to the space of tax agents. Now, we all know that agents are central to our tax and customs system and vital to the improving efficiency and for our increasing compliance. And when agents work well in the tax system, it creates value. It creates value not only for them or for us, but also for our customers. But when agents fail to make the standards that HMRC would expect, as Jim highlighted, it can lead to increased risk for our customers and increased demand of our services. Now, a clear example of this is the activity of some repayment agents, and this has raised valid concerns amongst customers and, of course, many of you here today. We are listening, and we have taken action to raise standards, for instance, by requiring repayment agents to register with HMRC if they want to receive nominated payments for pay-as-you-earn, marriage allowance and PPI tax relief payments. But we will continue to take further action to tackle unscrupulous agents across the board where we believe it is necessary to protect the integrity of the tax system and our customers. It is also really important to distinguish between enforcement action that we take to tackle specific issues like poor quality repayment agents and a more general need to raise standards across the board. Now, for example, evidence from our mandatory random inquiry programme in corporation tax shows that while businesses using non-affiliated, so non-affiliated to a professional body, those agents are more likely to be non-compliant, actually around 1 in 5 submissions from businesses who do use an affiliated agent are also found to be non-compliant. Now, we have got an £8.4 billion tax gap for small businesses on corporation tax. So it is really important that we work together in order to address this. Now, one of the ways we can do this is through software. There's more that we can do, working with the many software developers here today, to boost co-creation and to find market-wide solutions that strengthen validation and prevent those errors from happening really early on. We've already focused on this objective through our Compliance Solutions subgroup, which was launched at October's Software Strategy Forum. Now, of course, there are other steps that we want to take to improve that holistic view for our customers too. So, for example, the government last year put through reforms called the snappily titled Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Act. But the really great thing, if you haven't all read that, is that it really gives us an opportunity to work with Companies House to totally rethink how we identify, understand and validate who corporate entities are, who's linked to them and who the individuals are that make a difference to those businesses through their life cycle, which is good for compliance and definitely good for security too. Now, finally, I know the issue of R&D tax relief is one that has been at the forefront of a concern for many of you. In particular, the risk that valid relief claims are being rejected. Now, our evidence tells us that error and fraud in R&D tax relief has been too high, and there is an inevitable consequence to tackling that problem. But we cannot do that without applying more scrutiny. So it may feel that we are challenging elements that were not challenged in the past. But it is absolutely right that we ensure taxpayers' money is used as Parliament intended it to be. And we are acutely aware, though, of the balance that needs to be struck between making sure that those who are entitled to claim can do so, while stopping those who can't. And these reliefs are crucial in driving innovation, economic growth, and of course, we do not want to make those processes too burdensome. Now, let me be clear. We see no evidence that large numbers of valid claims are being rejected as a result of our new process, and the vast majority of claims are being paid out. We're expecting to exceed our aim of processing 85% of those claims within 40 days. And we're also significantly increased the resource committed to addressing error and fraud. We've now got more than 500 people working in that area. Again, very important to ensure that we are doing what Parliament intended. Of course, we are ready to listen, and we're very grateful for the feedback that we received as we went through those R&D work, and we are really working very hard to improve the skills and capability and give confidence to everybody about the accessibility of our guidance and our communications. And we will, of course, continue to work closely with you, as well as improving our standards of our own colleagues. Okay, so what's next? Over the coming months, we are going to be going much further in our strategy, as Jim mentioned, to improve our customer experience by managing demand, shifting customers online, and we'll be communicating more work in that space very soon. But we're looking at the long term also. In December, the first trader successfully connected to the single trade window, which is our new digital gateway for traders, and we did that as part of our testing. We'll shortly be expanding this with invited traders before launching a public beta later this year, and we'll continue to add functionality to the single trade window over the coming years, because eventually what we want is one place which enables traders to meet all their cross-government needs on import, export and transit. Our other focus will continue to be pay-as-you-earn. At the moment, we get over 7 million calls and 7.5 million items of post on pay-as-you-earn each year. I already mentioned the steps we're taking on tax codes, but our strategic ambition beyond 25 is to remove that pain for customers starting a new job by moving to as much real-time coding as we can. We want to develop services that enable customers to view and understand their tax-free allowance. We still get an awful lot of people who go, well, can you explain to me how my tax code works? We really want to make it easy and straightforward to claim the expenses, allowances and reliefs that people are entitled to. And it goes without saying that these are changes that will test and work and develop with you before we move forward, because it is working together we unlock the opportunity. We also, of course, need to continue in our partnership with His Majesty's Treasury to take opportunities for policy and process simplification and measures that will really help us to strengthen our compliance. In all, there are many changes we are undertaking across the services, security and innovation, but security and innovation are both key. Now, like most large organisations, our systems are routinely targeted by criminals, and we take protecting both customer data and our taxpayers' money very seriously. The digital changes that I'm talking about go hand in hand with building up the most robust security possible. And before sharing any personal data with customers online, we do have a duty to establish their identity to a high degree of confidence. So there will always be a balance to strike between making a journey for online as straightforward as possible, but also setting a high bar. Access to our systems needs to be reassuringly difficult. And today marks the beginning of HMRC's internal testing phase for gov.uk on login. And for those of you who've seen downstairs, there are some colleagues from the Government Digital Service who can talk to you about One Login if you're interested further. And its aim is to provide a single sign-on and identity checking system for government services. And we are the latest department to move towards our support for that. The testing phase will take us a really important step further. And I can't, of course, finish without giving a brief mention to generative AI. We all know we should have it, but not totally sure why. So it is the current buzzword, and for good reason. You know, there are some fantastic things that we can do, and it has huge transformational potential. But we also need to be incredibly careful about how we use it, where we use it, and the standards that we manage. Underpinning our activity on AI has got to be a well-considered ethics and risk management framework, ensuring that all the analytical models are transparent and explainable. And that's not just an issue for us as HMRC. If you think about us as a supply chain of all of the different people thinking about the software and the machinery that we all use, how are we confident that those are all doing the things that we would want them to do? So we're exploring how we can do that in HMRC, but we're definitely in a test and learn phase, and we will take a lot of care. So we're very busy, I hope that you could see, across a very broad landscape of tax and customs. And there are obviously lots of challenges, but actually we feel that the collaboration and the support that we have together really can make a difference. And we all play that part in the UK, and as I say, for some of you, internationally too. We must continue to adapt, and we must continue to modernise. And I have really high hopes that as we all move forward together, we can really make this happen. So just a few thoughts perhaps that you might take forward into the workshops this afternoon. So whether you're representing agents or businesses or traders or any of the many professions and customer groups engaged in the tax and customs system, what more can you also do to encourage them and the wider public to make use of online channels as they grow and improve and get them registering for the services that are already available? We might not check your phones to see if you've got the HMRC app before you leave. However, I would encourage you to, if you haven't already got it. For agent bodies, what actions can you take working alongside us to raise agent standards across the tax and customs system to improve compliance? For those of you that develop software, what more can you do with us to co-create, to embed and integrate the right systems across the whole system so that we can prevent errors and raise standards not only in data but also in security? For those of you who support through the voluntary and community sectors, what are the new initiatives that you can deliver alongside us to reach those most vulnerable people who need our support? And most importantly for everyone,
What more can you do to get people and businesses ready and able to interact with the tax and customs system in new ways, so that we can better manage demand and provide support for those who most need it? This is a period of significant change. Now, we've always been in an environment of lots of change in the tax system, but it really does feel like it's accelerating. Our shared challenge is, how do we successfully navigate it together, recognising, as I said at the beginning, that we all start from some quite different places. So let's grasp that nettle. Let's focus on what we can all do together to build a better system. Give us your proposals, not just on what we can do, but also on what you can do and how we can help each other. From the use of our online services, to adapting our business models, to using new software, to enhancing security, improving the way that we tackle non-compliance. Of course, challenge us on the details, but let's have a unified voice and unified action. And that is what I would call full collaboration, and the tax and customs ecosystem working as it should be for us all. So thank you again for your patience for listening to me and to Jim. Jim will be back once he's come back from speaking to some ministers in the Cabinet Office, which is where he's just rushed off to. Jim and I, and as I mentioned, all of my ExCom team are here with you all today. So thank you very much, and please do enjoy your day. So I'm going to hand over to Jonathan, and you're going to have a chance, I think, to get up and stretch your legs. So over to you, Jonathan. Thank you.